Thanks for everyone to be here. Actually, this is my second IDTechEx talk. Last time I was speaking at Berlin in April at the Cornerstone. And Rahul, he saw my personal designs and he asked me to speak at IDTechEx. And I said, are you sure? Because my things seem to be a little more creative than the common industry conferences. And he said, absolutely, that's something that we need. So yeah, I'm very honored here to present some of my personal work. And this is not really my day job. At Microsoft, I manage an integration team called Garage. But I have the freedom to explore a new emerging industry. And I'll be showing you the project that I have done in my spare time. It's probably more relevant to people in this room than in my day job at Microsoft. We like numbers and we like to see the money signs. So I'm going to point to you a chart here to show that we are actually missing a huge market. This is the fashion industry. It is $3 trillion, 2% of global GDP. But we don't see enough technology being used in fashion or technology integrated in fashion. So this is something that I'm personally very interested in. And if you can see the number for women's wear, that is 600 billion. It's not a small number, and without women, our economy will collapse. So think about all the possibilities. I'm going to show you that this is a field that really needs an integration between science, engineering, design, and art. You need all of these together to merge the different fields. And to a lot of people, it might seem very different, but to me, art and science are the cutting edge. We're pursuing something no one has done before. And that could inspire those practical fields like design and engineering. And that in the intersection there, we can produce products that people will love, people will want to spend their money, but also to bring a better and happier life. Just a little bit background about myself. I come from the semiconductor industry. My PhD was in plasmonic circuits, so I went to the clean rooms and I built chips and fabricated things. And that's where I came from. But on the side, I really love art. So I've been building fashion design that connects with technology. Let me show you some examples. I have built dresses that can detect your brain signal, that can use the EEG from your head, your intensity of thought, that can control the colors and patterns on the dress. And I also built a lot of dresses that use just microcontrollers connected with sensors, LEDs, displays. So that one is called the peaceful universe and the chaotic earth. And all of the graphics on my paintings on the fabrics. You can see, you can put LEDs, you can have motions. This is simulating falling leaves, connected to the painting of the fall there. This is a three-dimensional dandelion using optical fiber because the painting on the dress is dandelion. And this one is a painting of Jupiter. You can rotate the storm by rotating the satellite aisle on the shirt. So actually in 2016, I was invited to demonstrate my technology-embedded fashion in San Francisco Fashion Week. I showcased 12 designs. Half of them had electronics embedded, half of them are multi-ways. So fashion is really a communication vehicle to me. People, common people outside technology, they will appreciate your technology when they see something that's aesthetically pleasing. So I use fashion as a way to communicate technology. When people appreciate the look, the design, they would then start to appreciate the technologies inside. But a lot of the fashion designs are just for show, just for looks. I also want to create more functional clothing. So for example, this one is a gown that has paintings of flowers. It's connected to a EKG sensor. On the screen on the left, you can see my heart rate being detected. And the blinking of the LEDs matches to the frequency of your heart rate. So this is rather blunt. I'm putting my heart rate right in front of your eye. That's not what everybody wants. I know not everyone wants to show their heart rate. But what I wanted to show is that if we're looking into medical application or sports applications, we should be able to integrate the technology sensors in our everyday clothing. Why can't I wear something beautiful, something I want to wear every day, or something I want to wear in special occasions that also has functionality embedded? Another example is this made of Mars dress. I used a special material. The golden part is from a fabric that you can extract from the volcanic rocks. You can melt the rocks down and put them into fiber, weave them into fabrics. I got this material from a friend who worked at SETI Institute and studied Mars exploration. He gave me as a design challenge. He was trying to use these materials that's currently being used for industry application, like wrapping really hot pipes. It's heat resistant in harsh environment. But can we make something fashionable out of it? I took this as a design challenge, but as I was developing this, I thought, why and when do we want to move to Mars? Is it because our own environment is no longer habitable? Is it because we have polluted the Earth, we have to escape? Then I started embedding this optical dust sensor, as well as temperature sensor that can detect the environmental data, like your air quality or temperature. And I use the buzzers and LEDs on it to indicate the data that's collected. So I use this as a concept to warn people about global warming and air pollution. But imagine everybody having something like this they're wearing, and we can collectively detect data of our environment and connect to the cloud and extract useful information about our environment. Another example is a translator I built into a gown. So this one is connected to Microsoft Cloud, Azure Cloud. You can speak in many different languages and it can do translation, but here I'm using it as a keyword detector. It can detect certain words that is pre-trained to recognize and light up the gown. Right now it's detecting Latin. There's a backstory about why I'm using Latin, and it's a college tradition from my undergrad college. Also, I have made accessories. For example, these is a pair of sunglasses that are connected through Bluetooth. They can become transparent from opaque at the same time. Imagine you're wearing one of these on the street, seeing a stranger approaching you wearing a similar pair of glasses. You think, oh, this person has similar fashion taste. Maybe if our heart rate matches, it can flip from sunglasses to transparent, and we can check each other out. It's like physical Tinder. So through this project, I want to promote human-human interaction. It's not just about human-computer interaction. I want to use technology to assist human and human-friendly interaction. It's like when you have dogs, right? Your dogs can communicate, and the owners will start to communicate. Another example, also using Bluetooth, is to help mother and her child. This is a pair of Bluetooth-connected brooches. When the child and mother are close together, they both light up. But if for some reason the child runs off or taken away by someone, after a certain distance, the mother's brooch will start to buzz. No need to connect to the phone, the mother feels it, and she will start to look for the daughter. From the child's psychology, the kid likes to have the lights on. When they are separated from mother, their light would turn off. And the kids would get upset and they will try to get back to mommy. So this way, mother can keep the child near them. Trackers exist, but this one creates or assists the natural human interaction between mother and child. So these are just prototypes. Those are ideas, and these are how we can make such prototypes. If you are familiar with the open source community, open source hardware, you basically need a central control system like the microcontroller or a single board computer. And there are different modules you can connect the central control to, like outputs, LCDs, LEDs, e-ink displays, and you can have inputs like different kinds of sensors, and you can have connectivity like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And then you have things that can connect those modules like conductive threads, conductive ink. So this is what we have as creative community. This is what we can get off the shelf. And of course, there are a lot of challenges with these types of hardware. Some of them are still bulky, the electronics are not flexible, and the outputs are very limited. That's why we see a lot of smart clothing that's just LED, because that's what creative people can access. They can use them to display the technology inside. And then the batteries are often a bummer. If you design something very beautiful and here comes a bulky battery, so you have to work around it. So if you are a flexible battery manufacturer, or if you have batteryless solutions, it would definitely be helpful for this kind of work. The connectivity is also a problem. We have to manually sew the conductive threads. And there's machines that can do embroidery for conductive threads, but there's no services. There's only machines being sold. But for creative communities, it's very hard to get their hands on. And conductive ink, of course, we all know that they are not really water robust, so they can be washed off after several washes. And even if in research we have the solutions, we can build miniaturized electronics, flexible batteries in a research lab, but it doesn't mean that they are scalable. So there are a lot of great inventions. I did my PhD in plasmonics. We made electronics that could be 100,000 times smaller than their electromagnetic counterpart at the same frequency. But it was just a proof of concept. Published a paper and then people cited it. There's no scaling to industry. And then even if something that's scaled to be reproducible, it doesn't mean it could get into the public's hands. It doesn't mean that those flexible electronics that we can all do in the exhibit can be accessible for creatives. If we don't give those components to the creatives, then we can never make things that people would like to buy. So I've been making my projects open source. I built the projects. I would write tutorials to teach people how these projects are made. Anyone can go to this the website, the link like Hackster.io or Hackaday.io. If you're not familiar with open source hardware or community, you definitely need to check it out. There are a lot of very creative people using the electronics that can get their hands on to create very useful and beautiful things that people would love to have. So I make them open source, then other people will be able to follow and learn and build their own projects. And I'm also hoping that the manufacturing, the industry, can start looking into open source projects and start to learn the processes that go into producing those prototypes, and they will be able to scale them into products. Of course, none of my friends or strangers that I meet are makers, unfortunately. So people constantly asking me where to buy my stuff. So I actually just started my fashion brand. It's called Art by Physicist. Through this fashion brand, I want to show that what is possible, what our industry is able to do right now, and what are the cutting-edge technologies that we can pursue in fashion. But I'm also explaining to people a lot of the things that we already invent are not built into products yet. So I'm using this as both a way to show people the products and sell people the product, and they can buy things already, but also be able to communicate and educate. So as you can see, some of the crazy ideas are not really producible right now. When you get into manufacturing, you have to work with off-the-shelf components or do your customized PCB, and then try to integrate the technology and fashion. But then we don't have manufacturers to really produce these at scale. And things like this, pattern matching engine embedded in this dress can detect my gesture through an accelerometer and be trained to call the corresponding constellation on the dress. This is using machine learning in fashion design. And that's no way to be produced. So I make those open source. People can go to the websites and they can buy the DIY kit and learn how these things are built, and they can buy the component and make something themselves. That one is a design of the dress, sergeant dress. As you swirl, the ring of sergeant will show up, and I have an accelerometer in it. When the skirt reaches a certain angle, it can light up the dress. So creative things that we can already build. People ask me how long it takes me to make this. It can just take me a day to build prototypes, but took me 2 years to manufacture them, to make products, to start my brand. So right now the creative community, the education, open source, and research are working closely together. But we are lacking the method to scale creativity into productivity. The manufacturing is not quite there. So if you're already familiar with the fashion industry, you're like, this is a hard problem, hands off, I'm not involved. But I already showed that when there's great challenges, there comes great opportunities. So there are actually a lot of ways that we can use technology to help the creative. For designers, it's very hard to bring their vision to life. It can take months and months of work, very manual, and cost a lot of money to develop and produce. For consumers, there's no good products that is made to order, that's expressing their personal habit. Most things are mass-produced in factories that people are kind of used as machines in developing countries. And then retailers, because of the challenges, that very hard to develop a product, they will go mass-produce and overproduce. In fact, the fashion industry actually dominates the global carbon footprint, which is 10% of global carbon footprint comes from fashion. And 30% of clothing that's ever made are never sold. So this is actually not limited to clothing, not limited to fashion. We are all making physical products. As we produce more niche and interesting and novel products, can we think about ways to reduce the overproduction to actually meet the demand of people? So as I mentioned, for creative designers, it's very hard to scale their ideas into production, and we need garment and electronics manufacturers. But they are always asking the question of how much money they can make, what's the market? But they would never know the market and demand until the mass population already see existing products in the market. So this is a negative cycle that's been going on and on. I'm not the first designer who tried to integrate technology into fashion design, but this is what's been hindering us for decades. So because of my background from electronics, fabrication, and design, I thought there has to be ways to learn something from the electronics manufacturing. So if you look at how electronics are manufactured, we know we just start with a 2D design, schematics, we send to the clean room. Not a lot of people, it's mostly automated. And then we can produce chips, PCBs, packages. They're all designed by files. Clothing is also by files, but then it goes back and forth. The fit is usually wrong, and then the fabric is usually wrong during the development, and then they correct the details are wrong. So eventually we do mass production, and then we produce things like that that's uncreative, and people don't want them, and they are sent to landfills or get burned. This is how the fashion industry are currently run, trying to predict something could run, could sell, and then overproduce, mark down, destroy, and pollute. Ultimate goal would be to do made to order. And stop doing mass production and meet people's demand. But then we don't have the current solution. We have to temporarily do small volumes and then have not to keep a large inventory, but do pre-order sales. And people can't really wait. So here are some ideas that I also learned from the fashion industry. That's some innovative ideas that we can apply here. This is a website I use to print my fabrics. I can draw graphics. That's how I can put my paintings on fabrics. UI is a website interface that just lets you design online, and they can print your fabrics at any volume. So if you are doing conductive ink, for example, can you think about a way to integrate with this to make your ink part of their color ink, and let creative people design the circuits and then print it out for them? This is another website I used before to upload images, drag the images to the right position compared to the pattern, and then they can cut and sew for you, or they can send you a piece of fabric to do cut and sew. So if you make electronic components, can you think about a way to integrate like this to make a library of your electronics, and let designers say, I want a sensor here, I want a microcontroller here, I want LEDs there, and let people drag and drop and design things online, and then can produce it for them. It also reminds me of 3D printing. This is one of the most, I guess, the latest, most mature technology that now people can buy their 3D printers and print their own things, or you can just design something as a file and upload it to a service, and they can print it for you. They just charge you by the material cost at any volume. You don't have to go minimum order. So if you are a machine manufacturer, or if you have machines, can you think of a way to let people submit design files and do the service for them, instead of just selling your machines, which creative people may not immediately make sense to buy them? Can you open up your website and letting people send designs and you manufacture for them? So as a whole, we need to put together a platform. I call it the IKEA, GitHub, and Shapeways profession. So for the interest of time, I won't go into detail, but I want to show you this complete ecosystem. So what we really need is to combine creativity and technicality. And we need to give people a way to modularize clothing, adding electronics in them, and give designers the straightforward way to produce their vision into products. And use the latest technologies, machine learning, data processing, visualization to do design, and then democratize manufacturing. So far it is mostly software that we need and traditional garment manufacturing. Only when we have that, we can start putting the hardware in there. So right now I show in the development, we have components that we can use, but we need machines, we need services to scale those ideas, scale those handmade products and processes into production level, and give creative people the opportunity to do that. So hopefully by discussing the waste and pollution problem in fashion industry, I convinced you that we need a revolution in fashion design, need a revolution in the fashion industry, not just in terms of putting technology into clothing, but also using technology to reduce the waste and pollution, and you can help there. So I think the reason why we've been running the industry for 100 years, the fashion industry benefited from the first industrial revolution and just been developing so separately from technology, and we've been creating clothing in an overproduction way for so long is because we haven't put together these links between different fields. We have created so much silos. Only by breaking the silos and connect together can we build a better, clean, and beautiful future. So that is my talk. Thank you.